All right. All right. One more platform, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you for working with me. I greatly appreciate this. Thank you. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I am live on multiple devices. So just want to before we jump in, I want to show you guys something. I am reading from the ebook version because that's the latest version. And this is why I say that. This, for my old heads, this is the earliest version of Worth Fighting For. So I'm moving it around because like I said, I'm on multiple cameras. This is the first version of Worth Fighting For that was published. This version was published at the beginning of 2006. So I did this right around my birthday in 2006, and it's been on and popping ever since. So not many copies of this version exist. I want to say there are might be 1,000. Might be 1,000. And you have to remember, I was still a little fish back then. So I was still learning how all this stuff works, still, gathering information and what have you. So we were still doing the things and still, like I said, just learning and one, two, three, five, getting things done. So without further ado, let me go ahead and get this split screen in. We're going to jump right into reading this book. So, again, the version, what you see me holding in my hands right now, this is the earliest known version. Then it was this version. Very few people have the one with the basketball hoop. I don't even have that one no more. I don't even have a way to print any more of those. And there was only a few hundred of those made. But now the new version is the version that you are seeing on the flyers, wherever you're seeing the flyers at. So that's the version that's out now and the version that I am reading from. So before I get into my discussion and about 90s technology and reading these chapters, I do want to announce that the book of the month for August will be Why I Wrote These Books. So that's where you'll see me go in more detail about the different versions of the books, why there's so many printings. I help authors who've been in the game a little longer be able to differentiate and be able to um, show why, or not say show, be able to um, talk about how they can continue publishing and moving their books forward. So, again, I'm about to start reading from the book. This is the beginning of the Worth Fighting For universe. All right. So, this is chapter 5. So, what I'll do is I'll read chapter 5, then I will read, we'll have a discussion about different technologies that were available in the 90s. And then we'll read chapter 6, and then I'll let you guys go on your way. Again, thank you for the love and support. Good to see all you guys on here and in multiple places. Guys, like I said, I'm still, I'm still old school in a way that, I'm used to, back in the day when we used to do book readings and stuff, we pop up at a bookstore or we pop up at a library and we read. Now I'm doing all this stuff with all these new technologies, and I feel like I'm an old man trying to learn new tricks. Well, I am an old man trying to learn new tricks. But anyway, let's get into chapter 5. It's called Then I Opened My Eyes. My boys and I just got done selling our candy for the day when I walked into the cafe and caught this fly honey sitting on the table. She looked almost like Janet Jackson from Poetic Justice with braids, and the way her white do-rag was matching her white button up shirt and her black pants. I caught her looking at me and I started walking toward our table. She looked good, don't she? Calvin in her head nodded his head in her direction. I shook my head yes in response, and I sat down and recited my blessing. I took a bite out of the fries I was eating. That's my cousin, Shanice. You serious? I couldn't believe it. Slightly turned me off because I didn't want Calvin to think I saw him like that. Yeah, that's my cousin on my mom's side. Man, you can go with her. I'm not going to stop you from trying to go with her, but Shanice is stuck on herself because all the guys tell her she's cute and stuff. Is that right? Yeah, man. Her head is as wide as the Grand Canyon. Personally, she ain't all that to me. And I'm not just saying that because she's my cousin either, but she do need to be a little more humble. Shanice walked to our table and started talking to Pamela and Renee. Every time her head moved. Her braids seemed to swim like paper flowing in the wind. What can I say? I believed in magic. She looked me in my eyes and smiled. Calvin, that's what's that monkey looking boy looking at? I think my heart landed in my feet. I couldn't move. It was almost as if a mirror were lowered in front of me, and I saw a reflection of a black monkey jumping, dancing, and eating a banana like he were Donkey Kong. I can't believe she called me a monkey. Why you gotta be a monkey? Calvin looked at me. He looked like a little hurt dog. Don't you need a new puppy? Shut up, Calvin, I stuttered. I'm just playing, Martin. Calvin tried to hide a grin. It's not nice to stare, Martin. It makes me feel insecure, Shanice said real slow, almost like she were purring. And so, who? Girl, come on and let's go outside. Pamela got her things. I can't believe you just called that boy a monkey. Renee whispered something in Shanice's ear and the girl started laughing. I made a note to myself to charge them all them heifers double on the candy come tomorrow. I mean, who did they think they were calling me a monkey? I don't look like no monkey, but I guess that's what I get for being dark skinned. Every time somebody tries to hate on me, they always comparing me to some animal. Usually I get called a baby chimp or a skinny ape. Wait, that's what a monkey is. Anyway, if it's not one of those animals, then they're calling me tar baby or making some jokes about not being able to see me at night or something. I hate that. I really do. Mama says that it's just kids being mean to me or trying to pick, but I really hate that. My boys know I hate that the most too. But I guess we all got things we hate. Calvin don't like it when you talk about his sister. Can't pick on Darren for being too tall and Juan for being too short or being half black and Mexican. Lester's mom and Franklin's sisters were off limits. And the twins, man, forget it. Them boys just love to fight. Calvin, Angela yelled as I was making my rounds with the candy. Make Martin sell the candy to us. We promise not to call him Curious George ever again. I wish Calvin would make me try to do anything. He ain't my daddy, and even if he were, I'm still not going to sell the candy to them just on principle. How you gonna call the guy that's got all the candy names and expect to get what you want at the end of the day? Now, normally money is money, and I'm supposed to overlook things like that. But I had to put my foot down on this one. These chicks and that damn Shanice girl I'm still infatuated with were passing notes about me back and forth all during class period. Then had the audacity to be making 8 calls as I walked by to get some water from the fountain. Martin don't play that. All right. I'll sell you the candy bar for $3. I gave in. A sale was a sale. $3? Have you lost your mind? Renee yelled, getting in my face while Lisa was trying to grab at the box. Brenda came just in time to see the ruckus and started moving toward me. Yo, Martin, what's the problem? Brenda yelled, and the girls made a path for her to go through. Martin's tripping. That's the problem, Shanice said, being loud and shaking her head in two circles, looking like one of the old school clown toys. Brenda, these girls been talking about me and calling me monkey all during class period, and now they expect me to sell them some candy. Brenda was laughing and she shook her head. You called Martin a monkey to his face? That's classic. Wait a minute. Brenda was supposed to be on my side, not them girls, but she's a girl too. So I don't know what I was expecting from her. Martin, look, go ahead and sell the girl a candy bar for $2.50. You know you want that money and you do have to pay me. $2.50, Renee yelled. Man, forget that monkey looking hood rat. Shanice grabbed her bags and got ready to go to the store. I'll just buy the candy from my cousin tomorrow. He won't charge us $3 for a candy bar. I didn't say nothing as the girls left and continued to call me names and make fun of me. Some of them ran after Calvin and Franklin to see if they had any candy. I stopped by Lester's locker on the way home. I had seen him put some candy from the box into his bag. Who's the candy for? I asked. It's for my brother Sammy. I'm going to have to wait here a little while and pick him up from Elkhart. Sammy, I didn't know you had a little brother, Lester. I got one of those too, except mine just turned 4 and probably won't be in kindergarten for another year. Sammy's cool. Don't give me no problems. He's real quiet and smart too. I heard he's got a high IQ. They have him in all those gifted classes and stuff. The pride in Lester's voice spoke of a father who was proud of his son. He reminded me of my grandfather. He reminded me of when my grandfather would speak of me to his friends. Mind if I tag along? No problem, no problem. Lester and I walked out of the building. We could see Carlton trying to sweet talk some chick. Normally, I would have tried to hate on his game, but I wasn't in the mood for it now. Thank you guys for joining. I'm currently reading from Worth Fighting For. It is the first book in my Worth Fighting For universe or teen series. So check it out when you get a chance. The new editions are published under the name Isaiah David Paul, which is the name that is on all of my social media profiles. Back to the story. Wee! Sammy yelled as Lester spun him all around in circles. Lester had me fooled. He could have been Sammy's daddy if he weren't a virgin at my age. They look a lot alike, except Sammy's skinny and his father's white, I think. You bring me some candy today? You didn't let me have some yesterday. You promised me you would save me some for today. Of course, man. You know I'm looking out for you. Lester put Sammy down as Sammy tried to show him the picture he drew in class. What kind of candy do you want? You got any chocolate? Yeah, I got some chocolate. I took off my backpack and pulled out a Snickers bar and handed it to Sammy. I knew Lester didn't have any chocolate. I envied Lester because I wished that Marcus could be as adorable as Sammy was. Maybe Marcus was like that, and I'm just not around the house or in daycare with him long enough to see it. What do you tell Martin? Thank you, Martin. Your name is Martin, like the guy on the television show. My name is Samuel, but people call me Sammy. My daddy's name is Sammy. Have you seen him? Samuel, Lester yelled, shocked at the question. I smiled. Sammy was had some mischievousness in him too. I guess he wasn't different from other little brothers at all. No, I haven't seen your daddy. I haven't seen him either. I thought I'd ask. Lester grabbed Sammy's hand and walked with them the short distance to their house. I never paid much attention, but Lester only lived 5 houses down from the school. Not bad. Are we going to play football after you do your homework, or can we play Super Mario Brothers? Let's play Super Mario Brothers. Cool. Lester took his keys out of his pocket and gave them to Sammy. Sammy ran to the house and unlocked the door. Thanks for hanging out with me for a little longer. Now you see why I saved some of the best candy for last. Yeah, man, no problem. Save as much as you want. I gave Lester a pound and I watched him walk to the house. I looked into my backpack to see what candy I had left so that I could give a piece to my brother. It wouldn't hurt me to be nice to Marcus for one day. After deciding what piece of candy I was going to give Marcus, I made sure my bag was zipped and I walked the rest of the way home. And for a moment, I was happy to be a big brother. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the end of chapter 5. And I, while we're in the middle of reading for today, I'm actually going to do a couple little chores. So give me just a moment. I'll be right back. Well, actually, here in one of my platforms, you're coming with me. Those of you who are wondering why I'm reading the books out loud, this is all to help support the book that you guys see on the screen now. It's called Nothing is for Nothing. This is the follow up to the book I'm reading now, Worth Fighting For. I just released this book in May, and I want to thank all of you for the love and support you guys have given me while we are showcasing this book. I want to say thank you guys. Now, for today's discussion, I want to talk about technology in the 90s. As some of you guys know or may remember, in the 90s, that was when you had your Walkmans, which were like your portable tapes, and they just started out coming out with portable CD players. So about 30 years ago, those of us who were in school, that's what we used to listen to music with. You didn't have MP3 players were kind of like 10 years ago. You didn't really have like streaming services and listening to music on your phone. I don't even think they thought that would have been possible then. Also, we watch TV on like our shows. We watch like HBO and Fox because Martin, Living Single, all of your popular shows were on places like that. We watched them on the television show. We weren't watching them on the computers or streaming them on our phones and stuff like how we do now. So when you guys read my books that are part of my teen series, most of my teen series takes place in the 90s and early 2000s. So the technology is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to talk more about people. You've heard me last week. I made a reference to if you wanted to record or save a song that you heard on the radio, you rush to either put your recordable tape in or put your tape on the recorder side so you could record from the radio, or you put your tape recorder up to the radio, like kind of like how I'm holding my book. So depending on where you're watching me, you're either seeing a cover of one of my Worth Fighting For books, or you're seeing a cover of Nothing is for Nothing. Kind of like how I'm holding my books to the screen now. That's kind of like how we held our music to our tape recorders up to the radio. So we did stuff like that if we wanted to save music. We actually played Sega Genesis, Nintendo's. Most families, it seemed like, at least in my hood or in my area, you had one or the other. Some people had both. I think once you got into the 90s, it wasn't uncommon for different video heads. Thank you guys for the flowers and support. Keep sending them. Thank you. It wasn't uncommon to have um, people playing games like that. You couldn't play on teams. Excuse me. You couldn't play on teams or anything like that. So multiplayer games, being able to talk to people online or through the computer, stuff like that didn't happen. So that's kind of what you have going on there when it comes to technology. Um, what else? We were just we definitely did those things differently. Of course, you called your friends on the phone, and back in the early 90s, you didn't really there were cell phones existed in the early 90s, but cell phones weren't popular in the early 90s. You really didn't like high school students got may have had a cell phone like 99 2000, but back then back in those days, most of your high school students had jobs or they had two jobs and they paid their own cell phone bills or however their arrangement was with their parents. That's what you had. Elementary school children did not have cell phones. Now that I teach fourth grade, almost all of my kids have phones, and then we have to collect the phones, put the phones to the side, make sure they're not using the phones when we're testing or during social time. Because every year, without fail, I have parents that fill out forms saying that their children cannot be filmed on social media. They don't want their children on social media, which I totally agree with and understand. Um, so you had a lot of that going on. Um, like now, when I first was selling books in the late 90s, early 2000s, when we talk about selling this, and I'm gonna talk about this more next month because when I do why I wrote these books, I'm definitely gonna talk about and do more video clips about how we promoted books. Like you didn't have Kindles, you didn't have ebooks or other digital formats. If you wanted someone to read your book, I met people at a gas station. I went to the beauty salons, barber shops. I spoke to people in between classes because I was in college when my first set of books came out. So you were in the streets. Um, People had book. You went to flea markets. You went wherever you could to sell your books, and you still got to do that now. You can't. I think that's where there's a disconnect when it comes to technology, and even like from a book standpoint, I mean, I have to get used to the new technology because I'm coming, like, even now, I'm coming to you guys on three different social media platforms. I don't want to be deactivated or delisted, so I'm not going to promote which platforms I'm on. But if you see me, you see me on these platforms. You still have to do the work. You still have to get out there and put yourself in front of people. I mean, granted, yes, I love teaching fourth grade and I teach at an elementary school, at a public elementary school, but I still got to network with teachers that teach middle school and high school, which is the age group that my teen series is most appropriate for, eighth grade and up. Um, you still go to different conferences. I still go to different meetings. I'm still preventing yo, if you're live, just hit me up in the comments. I see some people on different platforms saying hi. So I see y'all. Thank you. Just want to acknowledge y'all. But you still got to put in work to sell those books. And so when we go live next week talking about why I wrote these books and the different types of books I wrote, I'll show you guys some more books that I have out and available. Again, the book I'm reading is out under the name Isaiah David Paul. The book cover looks similar to this because this is the classic cover most people know this book under, but as I did some rebranding, the books look similar to this. Nothing is for nothing. It's the follow up to Worth Fighting For. Yes, thank you. What's up? Thank you for supporting me. I'm actually about to start reading the book again in about 1 minute. Yeah, I'm having to talk with you guys and take care of some administrative issues at the same time. Thank you for the love and support. But technology, um, definitely was a lot different when I first came out. You had mailing lists, you had um, email chains, you had so many different things. Now you got to have that plus social media plus be able to meet people in public. So Yes, I see your question. I've been doing this for 27 years. Actually, September will be 28 years. So I've been doing this for a hot minute. I love it. I love it. I've been writing books longer than I've had any job. So thank you guys again for the love and support. I'm going to read chapter 6 of Worth Fighting For, and then I'm going to end the live. It was chapter 6 is called And There I Saw My Destiny. So before I completely read this chapter, I want to remind you guys I am reading from an electronic version of the book. You get it wherever you get your books. um, you can rent them, get them from libraries, wherever you get your books, you can get the book. That's I'm trying to cover my bases on all the platforms. Still learning what you can say and can't say on these different things. So bear with me. But chapter 6 goes like this. I gave Marcus some of my candy when I got home. He said thank you and he smiled. My father was at home resting after going door to door all day. M. Walkers had introduced their new cosmetics line, and my father was building customers as he was visiting the beauty shops today. Getting everyone to change from Fashion Fair was going to be a challenge because up until recently, Fashion Fair was the largest African American company making cosmetics for people of color. My mom was gearing up for a hair show that was getting ready to take place in Chicago in 2 months. She was experimenting with some of her wild and crazy designs on some mannequins she had brought home last week. She was reluctant to try some of her designs on her customers' heads. I was I had finished my homework and I got my dad to help me with the books for my company. So far, I had made $600 after I paid all my expenses, and I had at least $200 worth of candy now. But his hair is just a mess, the woman shouted. I don't know what I'm going to do with it sometimes. And then he always wants to go ripping and running with his hoodlum friends. I do not. I make good grades in school, the boy shouted back. Smack. Don't talk back to me. Poor boy. He should have known better to be talking to his moms like that. My boy should be coming home in a minute. Let me see if he's coming in. There goes my mom volunteering my services again. I hated being the entertainer for her guest. I am not a member of the Jackson 5 or New Edition, and I shouldn't be subjected to dance and sing routines. She always having Marcus and I doing. I'm home, Mom, I called out only to get whatever it was she wanted me to do over with. I do not feel like entertaining, but the sooner I do this, the sooner. Thank you for the live. Say hello in the chat. I can count my money and prepare to ask my father to take me to Sam's Club again for some more candy. Martin, come here for a minute. I got someone I want you to meet. And that's the other thing I hate when she tries to pick my friends out for me. She's still not fond of the idea of me hanging around Calvin or forgotten the fact that Franklin and I almost fought years ago. Sometimes I want to tell my mother to get over it already. What was done, and it was time to move on. Of course, if she knew that the words were forming in this brain of mine, I would get the same smack that boy got from his mom. It's funny because in the summertime, I would hate having to go door to door with my father selling hair products because it would be hot and the bag would be heavy. Dad would forget that I'm only 5'4", maybe 91 pounds, and that I can't carry his 50-pound carrying case all day. This was one of those days I wish I were lugging around that suitcase just to get me out of this mess. I come to the kitchen where my mom was working on some designs for the hair show, and I saw the older woman first. She was pretty, almost like she was someone's grandmother. This is the Martin I've been hearing so much about, the woman said. The pride in her voice led me to believe that she wished I were her son. I reached out to shake her hand, and she gave me a hug. I wish Garfield was as well mannered as you. My smile failed. I should have picked it up, but I didn't. I looked around to see Garfield sitting in one of the chairs in the dinner table. He didn't look too happy to be here either. I couldn't believe that my mother would let him into my house without asking me first. And now I didn't think of the woman as being so nice. I tried to fake a smile at the woman who claimed the devil as her son. Martin, take Garfield to your room so that you can play Super Mario Brothers or something. Can we go outside? I asked in an effort not to let that punk in mine in Marcus's room. Marcus has his toys all over the place, and I don't want him to get mad if I move them. You don't care about Marcus getting mad any other time, so you shouldn't care now. Boy, take him to your room and quit trying to show out before I get my belt. I would rather her get the belt, undress me to my underwear, and straight beat me. Better yet, let dad do it. The whoopings hurt more when he does it. This way, I would get the full fling action of being drugged all across the room. Anything but let that punk into my room. Martin has a good idea. Let's go outside. Garfield made an effort to help me. I ain't need his help. No, Martin is going to let you play video games in his room. Besides, I don't want I don't have time trying to chase you down from running with those cripples. Newsflash, your son is a Crip, the leader of the Crips in this area. As Garfield stood up and followed me to my room, I looked back to see if he was strapped. I hope that Calvin doesn't come over or call because that would be the last thing I needed right now. And now he's going to know how much candy I have. I just got Martin to quit stealing from my stash, and now I got to show this punk where it's at. I walk into my room and I sit on my bed. I pick up the Number of the Stars book by Lois Lowry that we have to read for our social studies and English classes. I was more interested in the Danish people hiding Jews in their houses and the teenagers fighting the Germans than entertaining the black Adolf Hitler. So, this is your crib? Garfield asked, chuckling. I was already starting to have nightmares about this fool climbing into my window, dressed up in a tan Nazi uniform. If I die in my sleep, it's going to be mom's fault. She'll probably be the one crying the loudest at my funeral. You could say that. Look, the only reason I'm here is because your mom wants to take some photographs of my hair for some portfolio she's putting together or whatever. As soon as she takes these pictures, I'm out of here. Besides, I'd rather be jacking cars or doing it to my girl anyway. Bet you don't even know what doing it is. I do know what it is, I quickly replied as I kept my eyes in my book. Look, you little punk. Garfield snatched the book from my hands. I jumped up and got in his face. Yeah, this was a good idea. Let Garfield beat me up in my house so mom wouldn't invite him or his mother back in my home. Dad would co sign that. I looked at this lighter version of Tretch and saw how naughty by nature he really was. I could see the little whiskers growing from his upper lip. Now I knew why they called him Garfield. I like you, little punk got heart. That's what I look for, and that's what I look for when I look for new Crips. I don't want to be no damn Crip, I said sternly. Watch your mouth, boy. He put his hand on my neck. I punched him in his stomach, hoping that if he was packing that, the gun would go off and blow his stuff off so he couldn't do it no more. You lucky I don't kill you while your mother's in the next room doing my mother's hair. Let me tell you something else, too. The only reason you are successful at this candy selling game is because I allow it. So be thankful you were able to grate off a few ends of my cheese. Feeling me? I shook my head, yes. So I won't snatch up your little operation if you don't blow the cover on mine. And I'll let you and that little runt Calvin live as long as you continue to behave yourselves. You know, I might atone for killing his sister. She has a nice kitty cat, too. My eyes got redder and my fists tightened at hearing him confessing to killing Carla. For a minute, I wished I were Calvin, or at least had the courage to do what I knew he would do. He dropped his hand from my throat, and I snuck another blow to his chest as my dad walked past the room. Y'all all right in there? He asked. I just knew that he saw Garfield's hand at my throat. We cool, Mr. Little? Garfield walked out of my room and my father walked in. I picked up my book from the floor and started to read. Martin, it's me you're talking to. Did you just punch him in the chest? I hate him. I answered real quick and low, hoping that he heard me. Look, you stay out of trouble with him because he looks like he might be a little dangerous. And when he leaves, I'll have a talk with your mother. Don't tell her I hit him or that he tried to choke me. Never that. I gave my father a pound and he walked out of my room. Marcus came running in with that little airplane running all over the room. I walked over to the window to make sure it was locked tight. I gave him another sucker and I prayed that if something were ever to happen to me, he'd grow up to handle whoever did it. Martin, you got a call. My dad called from the living room. I walked out and picked up the phone. My mother was playing in Garfield's hair. I shook my head and answered it. Sup, Marty Mar? Calvin was hype over the phone. You started talking to these girls about the fall dance? Nah, man, I haven't even thought about it. I've been reading this book for class. Man, you done read that book 1,000 times already. Put it down and have some fun. I will after I finish this chapter. You think you can help me with my math homework though? After we play some video games on your machine? When you coming over? About an hour or so after Carlton comes in from practice. Cool. See you later, man. Peace. I decided then not to tell Calvin that Garfield confessed to killing Carla. Not that I didn't want to tell him, but I wanted him to live for a little while before he went ballistic and got himself killed. I couldn't live with myself if I had something to do with something happening to him, especially now that Garfield knew where I lived and could pop up at any time. I walked to my room and picked up my book and continued reading. Hopefully, I'll never have to number the stars. All right, y'all. That is the end of chapter 6 of Worth Fighting For. I want to thank you guys for supporting me as I have read this book. I have enjoyed reading this book. Wednesday, it's not going to be live at 5. It's going to be more like live at 4:45 because, as you guys know, we're getting ready to go back to school. So I'm starting to do some things with other teachers, having different meetings and stuff like that. So I'm not going to read chapter 7 and 8. I'm actually going to have a discussion, answer some general questions. It's going to have to be a little quickie, okay? So I won't be able to stay on as long as I have been on these previous lives. But if you have any questions about Worth Fighting For, Nothing is for Nothing, or any of the other books in my young adult series, go ahead and get your questions ready and I'll answer those. Um, if you have questions about writing young adult fiction and how you can do more about getting started with that, especially if you're self-publishing young adult fiction, I'll answer some questions about that. Going starting in August, the book of the month will be why I wrote these books, and so I'm going to be talking about book writing, what inspired me to write books, how I've stayed in the game for almost 30 years, some of my famous and infamous quote unquote situations I've gotten in. I'll even talk about some stuff that's not in the books. But I want to thank you guys for all the love and support, as my boy Mark Dark would say. Um, I really appreciate this. And if you've acquired some of my books by whatever means you've acquired them from, I just want to say thank you. And I hope you have a blessed and marvelous day. Peace.